Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. This is it. It is the end. This is your last opportunity. And I'm going to throw this out there. What's interesting is all we have seen from the VA on this specific matter is one, essentially, there may have been others, a couple maybe, little press release that they put out on their news feed. And if you look on the VA's YouTube channel, I have not seen anything regarding this. And it's a little bit sad. So this is almost like a public service announcement for you. If you have GERD, and I get it, I've done this video, similar type of thing, multiple times. It's because this is it. We are at the finish line here, and you either do or you don't. Right? So if you have GERD, bad heartburn, anything like that going on, even if you're not sure if you have GERD and aren't even sure if you can connect it back to your time in service because you don't have all the evidence in place, you have essentially until, actually, realistically, you have the 18th of May. May 18th. That's tomorrow. I'll post this today. That is tomorrow, if you're watching this. If you're watching this and it's May 19th, you've missed the boat, and I am so sorry. I've done as many videos on this as I could. Here's the deal. If you have GERD, you think you have GERD, you have bad heartburn, it's gastroesophageal reflux disease, bad heartburn, you must file an intent to file now. Now I'm going to walk you through what it would look like if you happen to put your intent to file in today, or if you have an intent to file that's already in place that still has not expired. Let's say it's going to expire in 2 months. That's good. As long as you have an intent to file that is in place that will preserve an effective date prior to the rating schedule change, you're going to be solid if you file a claim for GERD. Now, here's why this is so important to me. GERD currently can be rated up to 60%. Not bad. Bad heartburn, up to 60%. The symptoms that you're looking at for that 60% rating loosely are regurgitation. Stan agrees, by the way. Stan's my rooster. So, regurgitation, maybe some vomiting, heartburn, epigastric distress, maybe some pain in your sternum, maybe some pain in your shoulder, maybe some weight loss, potentially some blood in your vomit, maybe some blood in your stool. Those aren't have-tos. Basically, that or any other combination of symptoms that could be a considerable impairment to your health. Now, that's really important that you understand what the VA is looking for, because you're going to need to, for lack of a better word, regurgitate it with your doctor and your C&P examiner. Those are important pieces of that pie. Stan agrees. So, now, if you wait until after and you hit May 19th when the new rating schedule goes into effect, all of those symptoms disappear. And the only symptom that remains from that old set of symptoms is difficulty swallowing, which I actually forgot to mention in my little snapshot. So difficulty swallowing is the one piece that goes to both rating schedules, okay? It's the only one. Everything else doesn't exist, right? Heartburn, nope, it's not on there. Regurgitation, nope, not there. Vomit, nope, not on there. Pain in your sternum, nope, not on there. So weird, right? Because they've shifted it over to another rating schedule for esophageal stricture, or so basically it's the tightening of your esophagus. So the symptoms that they're looking for is difficulty swallowing, essentially due to this tightening of the esophagus, and with treatment of dilation, either through steroids or actually dropping down a line with a balloon, essentially, that pops open and opens it up, right? So that's what it's shifting to. It's going to be a much smaller set of folks that are going to be able to qualify for any sort of substantial percentage, right? Most folks are going to qualify for 10% or so. There will be people that benefit, and that's great. because they should be getting a higher rating. Now that can bounce up all the way to 80%, but again, it's going to be a very small set of folks compared to the current rating schedule for GERD. So let me walk you through, because a 60% rating, if you don't have it today, can open up the door for all kinds of things. It might be that one rating that you have that's substantial enough that could warrant you to be able to qualify for TDIU, that's total disability individual unemployability, pays out at 100%. Or it could be that 60% that you need that pushes you to the 100% scheduler rating. So there's a lot of benefits, obviously, in having a high rating and looking at it. Let's walk you through. And by the way, for those that don't know, if you're married with a child, the payment's about $4,100 per month, tax-free, in your pocket, monetary benefit. So that's also an important thing. Also, if you hit 100%, all of a sudden there's all those other bells and whistles that open up, which is always a good thing. Like Chapter 35, your spouse gets $1,488 per month while they'll go to school full time. So let's move on. Now we have GERD. You have your, you don't even know if you have GERD. You have heartburn. Bad heartburn, it sucks. You've had it ever since you were in the service. I'm just going to give the quick rundown here. You've had GERD since service, or heartburn since service, and now you file an intent to file today, May 17th, 2024. You file your intent to file. That preserves the date as your effective date as long as you file your claim before the expiration of that intent to file, which is 12 months. So now you have your intent to file in place. That gives you some breathing room. Now you go to your doctor. You get diagnosed for GERD. Good, right? Now you have a diagnosis. Now you need to make sure that what I would do is pull up the rating schedule for GERD today on today's rating schedule. Print that out so you have it. Now that's the list of difficulty swallowing, heartburn, regurgitation, vomit, substernal pain, epigastric distress, a pain maybe in your shoulder, maybe some weight loss, maybe some blood in the stool or in the vomit, that type of stuff. So now you have that list. Whatever you have of those symptoms, make sure your doctor annotates that in the record so you have that as evidence. Now, you're going to need to figure out your nexus, okay? The nexus is the link between your time in service and your diagnosed condition. So you're going to go back and you're going to look through your medical records, your service treatment records. If you don't have them, order them with the SF-180, SF-180. Order your records, thumb through them. You don't need to be diagnosed, okay? It'd be ideal if you were, but if you weren't diagnosed in service, well, then what you're looking for is any mentions of signs or symptoms of GERD. So you're looking for, vomiting, you're looking for heartburn. It could be a self-attesting form where it's all the yeses and nos. Have you now or have you ever experienced any of the following? Heartburn, yes, right? If you checked yes, that is a symptom of GERD on the current rating schedule, the rating schedule that is up until May 18th, 2024. So now you have it. You have something to lean on. If you don't have anything in your medical records, that sucks. I get it. You're still going to want to move forward and see what happens. You would want to write a letter, regardless if you have something in your medical records or not. Write a letter for yourself. That would go on the form 4138, and you would write down your statement explaining essentially why you never got diagnosed until when, right? Whenever it was. And you want to touch on that you started having these symptoms of GERD back during your time in service, right? Whether it was on a deployment, maybe when you were in Japan, maybe it was after your school, whatever, right? So you're going to give a point in time of when you first started experiencing GERD symptoms. And that you would just get handfuls of Motrin, or not Motrin, but Motrin too. But with your Motrin, you also got antacids, or you bought Tums, you bought Rolaids, you drank Melanta, whatever. And you would just self-treat. So you would explain all of that in your letter. Now you'd want to get buddy statements. Ideally, you know somebody that you served with, or you can get in touch with somebody. That's the ideal situation. They could write a letter attesting to their knowledge of you utilizing that type of over-the-counter medication for your GERD. Rolaids, Mylanta, whatever. Everywhere he went, he always had a bucket of Tums, whatever. Writes that statement attesting to their knowledge. Then I like to, and I never really hear anybody else say this, everybody focuses on the quote-unquote buddy statement from a service member, and that helps to say that they know that you had it when you were in. Get a letter from a family member. They're easy to get in touch with. Get a letter from a family member, obviously somebody your age or older, that can basically attest to knowing that I never really noticed him have any sort of problems with heartburn or GERD prior, and it wasn't until that time when he came home on leave, or she came home on leave, and sat down at the dinner table with a thing of Tums, right? So they're attesting to their knowledge of you not having any issues before and then having it during. Then you're going to work with your doctor to have them write a Nexus letter, basically letting the VA know that it is the minimum threshold or higher. The minimum threshold is at least likely as not that your GERD had manifested during your time in service with whatever rationale they can come up with. And if you want to ask them to say more than likely, you can. I mean, if they're willing to do that, then have them do that. So more than likely is obviously preferred, or most likely is preferred, but we can settle on at least likely is not, and that's fine too. Then also utilize a DBQ, disability questionnaire. Now remember, you already have your intent to file in place. That buys you 12 months. So you got time to work this and really put together a solid claim for the VA. That DBQ, disability questionnaire for digestive systems, has portions in it that relate to GERD. There's portions you're going to skip because they're not applicable, and that's fine. So what you're going to want to do is work with your doctor to make sure that they put the correct information in that DBQ. A blank form is a blank form. Garbage in is garbage out. So utilize the schedule of ratings, that same information that you're having them embed into the treatment records. You want to make sure that they're embedding that into that DBQ. That's going to help the VA to rate in your favor at the appropriate level. If you rate for a 30% because that's the criteria you meet, well, then you should get 30%, but you need to make sure you're annotating all the 30% criteria. If you rate for 60%, well, you need to make sure you're getting all of that stuff annotated and documented, both in service treatment records from your medical provider and the DBQ, so that way the VA can rule in your favor. Now, when you go to your C&P exam, take those notes with you. When they're asking you questions, you can reference your notes, so that way you can make sure that you're giving them the correct information. So that way, at the end of the day, you file your claim and you get rated appropriately. The great news here is because you are transcending two rating schedules, the May 18th and May 19th new version, two rating schedules, the VA is going to look at both of those rating schedules with all of the evidence that you've provided, and they're going to go, okay, well, you rate a 60% on the old schedule and you rate a 10% on the new schedule. Therefore, we're going to give you 60% on the old schedule. You get to play both sides of the fence. So with that, we'll end it there. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.